Liam Santos grew up in a small coastal town in the Philippines, where the sound of waves was the only rhythm he knew before he ever learned what music really meant.
His home was a humble
Wooden house that leaned slightly whenever the sea winds grew strong. His mother, Marie Thais, sold vegetables in the local market, and his father had been away for years, working overseas as a construction laborer. Liam was the quiet type, the kind of boy who carried his dreams not in words, but in the songs he whispered to himself, while helping his mother wash dishes, or mend torn nets by the shore. He had no stage, no microphone, no spotlight, only the soft hum of the ocean, and a heart that held melodies too big to contain. From an early age, he realized that singing wasn't just something he did for fun. It was how he spoke to a world that often ignored the quiet ones every time he sang. It felt like he could talk to his father miles away, talk to his struggles, talk to his fears, and somehow turn them into something beautiful. By the time he turned 15, life hadn't gotten easier. His mother's hands had grown rough from years of work, and the bills kept coming even when money didn't. Yet Liam never lost his light. He sang in church, he sang in local contests. And though the prizes were small, sometimes just rice or a grocery basket, his heart grew stronger every time. One evening, as he sang on the steps of their small church, after Mass, a tourist recorded him and uploaded the clip online. That video of a barefoot boy, with a cracked guitar and an angelic voice, singing about hope began to spread like wildfire. Within days, millions had seen it. Comments poured in from around the world, some in languages he didn't even understand. Among them was one that would change everything, an invitation to audition for America's Got Talent. At first, he thought it was a prank. A boy from the province, who barely had enough to eat some days, being invited to the biggest stage in the world. But when a local sponsor confirmed the ticket, and his mother with tears in her eyes whispered, "Go Anitza, show them who you are," he knew it was real. The flight to America was the first time Liam had ever left his hometown. As the plane soared above the clouds, he looked down at the endless stretch of ocean, the same ocean that had been his lullaby. Now far below him, everything felt unreal. He had one small backpack, a worn-out guitar, and a letter from his father folded in his pocket. The letter was old, the paper soft from being unfolded so many times. It said one day, "Son, the world will hear your voice." He clutched that note as if it were his ticket, not just to a show but to his destiny. When he arrived in Los Angeles, the city lights felt overwhelming. The people, the pace, the energy, it was everything he wasn't used to. But beneath all that noise, his purpose was clear: to sing, to tell his story, to remind the world that even from the smallest places, great voices can rise. The day of his audition, the AGT stage glimmered like something out of a dream. The audience was a sea of faces, and the judges Simon Cowell, Heidi Klum, Sofia Vergara, and Howie Mandel sat before him waiting. Liam took a deep breath. His palms were sweaty, his heart pounded like a drum. For a moment, he wanted to run back home, to the safety of the waves and the smell of salt air. But then, he remembered his mother's voice on the phone. The night before, "Just sing a nick. Don't be afraid of big stages. God listens even there." When Simon asked him where he was from, his soft voice trembled. "I'm from the Philippines," he said, and the audience cheered. Simon smiled and asked what he would sing. Liam hesitated, then said, "It's an original song about missing someone you love." "Who's far away?" The lights dimmed. The music began, and in that silence, before the first note, the world held its breath. When Liam sang, his voice didn't just fill the room. It filled hearts. The song, titled "Waves of Home," was simple but hauntingly beautiful. Each lyric spoke of distance, love, and hope. He sang about a boy who stood by the shore every night, waiting for the tide to carry his father's voice back to him. His tone was gentle, fragile at first, then powerful like the rising tide itself. The audience listened in complete silence. Even Simon, known for his stoic expressions, leaned forward, his eyes softening with every line. There was something pure, something painfully honest in Liam's performance. The kind of truth that can't be faked. When he reached the final line, his voice broke ever so slightly. "And when I sing, I'm not alone. The waves still carry me home." The hall erupted into applause. People rising to their feet, some wiping tears. The camera panned to Simon Cowell, and for once, the man who had seen it all was visibly emotional. A single tear rolled down his cheek, before he quickly brushed it away. The moment hung in the air like a miracle. Simon looked at Liam, unable to speak for a moment. Then stood up Liam. He said softly, "That was one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard on this stage." The crowd roared, but Liam just stood there overwhelmed. His eyes glistening your voice. Simon continued, "It's not just talent. It's truth. You reminded me tonight why I fell in love with music." He paused, looked at the other judges, and then pressed the golden buzzer. The hall exploded in golden confetti. Liam's hands flew to his face as tears poured down. His cheeks he looked toward the sky, whispering a prayer in Tagalog that only he and his mother would understand. Back home, his entire town watched. From small TV screens and phones screaming, crying, cheering, as the boy who once sang to the sea now shone under the world's brightest lights. In the days that followed, Liam's story spread everywhere. News outlets called him the boy who made Simon Cowell cry. Interviews poured in, people shared his video across continents, and donations started coming to support his family back home. But fame wasn't what mattered to him. What stayed with him was the message his mother sent. After the audition aired, "You made the world listen. Your papa would be proud. Every word of that message meant more than any trophy ever could." He continued on the show, performing week after week, always carrying that same humble energy, that same honesty that first touched the hearts of millions. And though he didn't win the grand finale, he had already won something far greater: the world's love and respect. Years later, when Liam returned to his small hometown, the streets were filled with children singing his song. He walked barefoot again, on the same sands he once dreamed on. Now, with a heart full of gratitude, he built a small music school by the shore. Not a grand one, but a place where kids could learn to sing, to dream, to believe that their voices mattered. When asked in an interview what his secret was, he smiled and said, "It's not about how big your dream is. It's about how true your heart is when you sing it." And just like that, the boy who once sang to the waves became the wave that carried hope to others.